He saw 7 deep claw-like scratches across his torso. The next day, the wounds had vanished. Small disclaimer, any movie clips I use are from Warner Bros. Pictures and are just being used under fair use for educational and informative commentary.
She was sitting in the hallway, but we had left her in the spare room.
What you just saw was a snippet from The Conjuring. I didn't show it to scare you, I showed it so you could feel what evil Annabelle is supposed to be. Because the version most of us recognize isn't the original. A symbol of American horror culture, and one of the most infamous haunted dolls in the world. Annabelle has appeared in 4 major films, the 3 standalone Annabelle movies, plus The Conjuring. Full disclaimer, also, to make this video properly, I made sure to watch all the films first. Before, I thought Annabelle was genuinely terrifying, something to give me insomnia and nightmares. But now, I really just can't help but think, how does a person look at a doll this creepy and think,
yes, of course we should keep it in the house, why not?
Bruised face, heavy blush, bright red lipstick, that frozen psychotic stare. Ironically, the Hong Kong title for Annabelle 2 literally translates to Annabelle bringing sin. And honestly, it fits. But here's the truth. The real Annabelle didn't look anything like the horror movie version. She was actually kind of cute. A large Raggedy Ann doll, a soft clot toy inspired by the 1941 animated character of the same name, hugely popular in mid-century America. I should know, I used to read those tiny little books about her adventures with Raggedy Andy and all the other plushies and their owner, Marcella. Not exactly nightmare fuel. Director James Wan transformed her into the porcelain-faced horror we now know today. That's artistic adaptation. But when you adapt fear, you don't just change the visuals, you reshape the story. So in this episode, we're going back to the sources, not the screenplay, the record, or at least the version presented as record. We're reconstructing the real story behind Annabelle, the version the Warrens told and the version the world inherited. Fair warning, by the end you might feel a little disappointed. According to the Warrens' official archives, they obtained the Annabelle doll in 1970. It belonged to a young nursing student named Donna, who had just graduated and was living in an apartment with 2 roommates, Angie and Lou. For Donna's birthday, her mother gave her a Raggedy Ann doll. At first, everything seemed normal, but that normalcy doesn't last long in Warren case files. Because after a few days, things started to feel off. Donna would leave the doll on her bed before work. When she returned home, it had moved to the couch, the foot of the bed, or even under the bed. At first, she assumed she'd misremembered. Maybe the wind moved it. But misremembering doesn't explain a doll changing rooms. And soon, the movements were not subtle anymore. Sometimes the doll would even appear in her roommate's room. Donna asked if anyone was moving it. Her roommates both said no. Then things escalated. Donna and Angie began finding small notes around the apartment, crooked handwriting, messages like, "Help me, help Lou." They searched the apartment, no parchment anywhere. Most people at this point would call the police or throw the doll away. But instead of removing the object, they tried to understand it. Until one day, Donna noticed something on the doll's hand, a red liquid. She believed it was blood. That kind of feels like the point where this story should end, right? But instead, it just escalated. They contacted a medium, and the medium claimed that the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins inhabited the doll. Annabelle had allegedly been murdered, her body found near the apartment building. According to the medium, Annabelle meant no harm. She simply wanted to be loved, to stay with them. And that changed everything because fear soon turned into sympathy. Donna and Angie agreed to let her stay. Now remember, there were 3 roommates, Donna, Angie, and Lou. Lou had stayed mostly on the sidelines, but belief has a way of pulling everyone into the frame. After Donna returned from the medium, Lou began having recurring nightmares. In his dreams, Annabelle would enter his room, crawl onto his chest, and strangle him. One night, while Donna was out, Lou and Angie heard footsteps from Donna's bedroom. Lou opened the door. The room was empty, except the doll just sitting quietly on the floor. When Lou approached, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw 7 deep claw-like scratches across his torso. The next day, the wounds had vanished, which makes the story more dramatic and harder to verify. That was enough. They contacted a priest, Father Hegan. Father Hegan reportedly felt the case was beyond him, and so referred it to Father Cook. Father Cook, in turn, contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. After a brief investigation, the Warrens concluded something far more serious. This was not a child's spirit. It was a demonic entity pretending to be one. They claimed the spirit manipulated the doll to gain trust, and once emotionally accepted, it could attempt to possess a human host. Their solution was surprisingly simple. They took the doll. But according to them, the danger followed. They drove it home. According to their accounts, the drive was dangerous. The car stalled repeatedly. The steering failed on curves. They sprinkled holy water on the doll, made the sign of the cross, and eventually, the disturbances stopped. At home, they placed Annabelle on a chair. Over time, they claimed that it levitated several times before finally settling down. Eventually, they locked it in a glass case in their occult museum. And according to the Warrens, Annabelle caused at least 2 serious incidents. One involved a visiting priest who mocked the doll, saying, "You're just a rag doll, you can't hurt anyone." On his way home, his brakes allegedly failed. He survived, but barely. Another incident involved a young couple visiting the museum. The boyfriend mocked Annabelle, banging on the glass, and later, while riding his motorcycle home, he was killed. The girlfriend survived, but spent months hospitalized. The Warrens publicly warned, never challenge evil, which, intentionally or not, just reinforces the legend. But here's where the structure shifts. Every detail of the Annabelle case comes solely from the Warrens' accounts. No independent witnesses, no police reports, no hospital records, no confirmation from the priests involved. And once you start comparing the interviews, small inconsistencies appear. In some interviews, Ed said that Annabelle was 7 when she was murdered. In others, he said she was 6. Car accident versus other causes. In some accounts, the doll was a birthday gift. In others, a Christmas gift. Journalists have tried to verify these details. In 2019, the Daily Telegraph even reported that no priests named Hegan or Cook could be identified in connection with the case. Decades have passed. No Donna, no Angie, no Lou, no verified accident victims. If this were a documented case involving identifiable victims, where are they? The absence thus becomes part of the story. And there's one more angle. Some researchers note a possible inspiration from the series The Twilight Zone, with an episode released in 1963 called Living Doll. In the episode, a talking doll named Talkie Tina threatens her owner's stepfather.
Then I can hurt you.
Not really, but I could hurt you.
It moves on its own, speaks, survives attempts to be destroyed, and eventually the stepfather dies after tripping over the doll. There's even a character in that episode called Annabelle. Is that proof that the Warrens fabricated this story? No. But it does introduce another possibility. Sometimes stories echo other stories. So what do we have here? A doll, a series of escalating claims, and a narrative that grows more dramatic the further it travels from verification. Whether Annabelle was a demonic object, a marketing phenomenon, or simply a story told at exactly the right moment depends largely on belief. And belief, as we've seen, is powerful. So in the next episode, we're just going to continue slowly, carefully, piece by piece, until maybe, just maybe, that pattern becomes harder to ignore.